Not a glorified but realistic and honest perspective of what it's like to get a will-it-run car. I present to you my 1986 Honda Prelude that's been sitting for quite some time. We've already got it running for the first 5 minutes. Now it's time for the next steps. This will be part 2. We can't slow down on this 1986 Honda Prelude because it's going to be my daily one day. As you know, we've already had to get the head off of it and it's at the machine shop now. We need to get to work on the brakes. I don't think it has a brake pedal whatsoever. Let's see. No pedal. So let's check out the master cylinder. Fluid level, as expected. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And it looks like crap down there. There's a bunch of trash down in there too. I don't know what that's about. Put a little in there and just see if we got a leak or if it's the master cylinder bad. Maybe not too much because I don't want to waste it. After just banging it around a little bit, it's kind of built up a pretty good pedal actually. Seems like the brakes will work now. But I wonder if we should take the master cylinder off. Where'd all that fluid go? I hope it didn't go into the brake booster because it didn't have any fluid in it. We are fortunate though to have a pedal. Doesn't look like any fluid got in the booster, so that is a good thing. There's our crack right there in the plastic. That's what's causing the brake fluid to leak out. Not much will stand to brake fluid as far as repairing this, so I have to figure something else out. I'm just going to set it aside for now, and let's work on the brakes. Quick break to promote my own videos. Unfortunately, this has become a necessary evil to ensure the survival of my channel. I need you guys to hit the like button. I need you to leave comments. I need you to share these videos, and I need subscribers desperately. Last week, I asked for the same favors, and you rallied behind me, and I couldn't even believe it. I got a lot of views, a lot of likes, a lot of comments, and gained a few subscribers, and I'm very thankful for that. Knowing that you guys love the Benny sure did boost my morale. Thanks each and every one of you for your continued support. By the way, last week I asked you to leave a comment on how much I gave for the old Prelude. $1,000. Now let's get back to work. The show must go on. Let's zip these calipers off. This hose is in the way. That's silly. Wait a minute. That's not even that's just a pin. The brake situation really does look good. I just wanted to grease up these slides and reinstall. Maybe clean up the rotor a bit. Normally you would never hang a caliper like that by this hose, but this caliper is so light, it weighs like nothing, and the hose is straight, it's not gonna hurt it. These boots are actually working well, and they're not rusted up, the slides or anything. Just put a little extra grease in there, make them nice and slippery. Rusty little slides, I'll clean those up with this wire brush. And I think it's mostly just dust. Maybe rust from the pads. Look, it doesn't take long to get those clean, does it? If there's a lot of rust buildup underneath these, you'll take them off and then clean them with the wire brush too, but these are in good shape. Rubber wheel here on my grinder so I can clean up the rotors. It won't hurt anything because it's just rubber. Instead of having to listen to the brake pads grinding off that rust, we've already accelerated that process. When you put these screws in, you just barely have to tighten them up. You don't have to get carried away because the wheel will press up against them and hold them anyways. And it's just to hold the rotor in place while you get the wheel on, and probably most likely that's for when they assemble them at the factory. Wheel bearing doesn't feel bad. I did notice the upper ball joint has some wear though. First time in my life that I ever looked up a DOT number was on this car, that is on the tires, and it's saying that they were made in 2013. So this car was probably off the road since the tires wore out, probably in 2015, maybe 16, I would guess. Pads probably aren't even half wore out yet, so we will use them. And if a caliper happens to stick or something and ruins them, we won't have our feelings hurt, we'll just get new ones then. If you do this, you really need to watch what you're doing and not get it on the brakes. I'm just going behind the dust boot here and gonna give it a little bit of WD-40 to lubricate the seal that's in behind there. But see, you don't want to get it all over your brakes, obviously. I'm gonna do it. Oh. So anyways, after I get done, I'll make sure I clean it all off of the brakes situation. I did check this caliper. By the way, I just squeezed it in to see how easy it'd be to squeeze together, and it squeezed real easy, so it should be good. And that's it for now. I will do the other side and then we'll do the back brakes. I'm going to do the same thing on the back brakes that I did to the front. They are disc also. I'm not going to film it because you already saw how it's done. I will, however, show the extras we're going to do back here. And one thing includes packing the wheel bearings. Please don't dent the dust covers. There's no reason for that. Work on this lip here, and when you install them, hit the lip. Don't beat it right here and here and there. Now to save the back seal, reinstall this nut so that the threads are all on there. Oh, I forgot, this bracket wouldn't come out. There's not enough room for the bolt. So I loosen this up so the bracket come out further and get it out. The bolt's gonna stay in here. If you understand what I'm saying, it's hitting something. The bolt can't come out, so I did it like this. Now, where were we? Just give her a little wallop and it's off. What about that rotor? How long is that gonna last? It's what, 3/8? Clean the seal off a bit and I'll wipe these bearings down. I'm not gonna clean these in solvent like you're supposed to. I'm just wiping them down and I'm gonna repack them. It should be cleaned, they should be cleaned in solvent and it should be done right, but when you have been doing this kind of work as long as I have, you know what you can get by with. Also, I need to mention, I'll most likely, after driving this thing, have to put new rotors on it. I'm almost positive. Those little itty bitty things are gonna be warped. Did you guys notice that halfway job I did right there too? I stacked them on top of each other to pack them instead of doing them individually. That's pretty, shady. I think it'll be all right. These are things I'd never do on a customer vehicle, but when it comes to my own stuff, I actually enjoy doing stuff like this because I know it's just fine. You can see the grease got all up in the bearings. See that edge right there? Maybe you can. It's gotten all in there on the back side and up through them, so it'll be good. I cleaned it up inside of the bearing races here. Put some fresh grease. This grease is a lot better than what's in my grease gun. I think this is at 99¢ or $2 Walmart stuff or whatever. Smack attack on the seal. There we go. Before we put this rotor back on, we have one other thing to do. These horrible crap calipers. How I hate these horrible crap calipers, and I think everybody who has worked on these hates them too. First, let me spray that seal in there with some WD-40. Just a little spritz. Won't hurt. Hopefully lube that seal up nicely in there. Next, these crap muffin calipers require a tool like this, and they do make much better ones than this, but this is the cheapest one you can get at any AutoZone or parts store. Sits in there like that, and then you can turn it, and what you gotta do is crank them in when your pads are wore out. The reason I'm doing this, my pads, well, they are almost wore out, but I'm gonna reuse them. But the reason I'm doing it is to make sure these are broke loose because they are notorious for freezing up. Boy. So my purpose in doing this is just to get them all nice and loose. I'm gonna drive them right on in there and then they'll have to spin right back out. You can tell they're getting free, and I hear brake fluid dripping on the floor up there, so we know we're pressing them in. See, this is all the way in, but I'm still spinning it because I'm just trying to lube up those seals inside of the caliper there. I've always hated these. It has something to do with the emergency brake, and it just seems like such of a stupid crap design in my opinion. I need to mention when you put these together, there's a little pin here on your brake pad, sometimes two, one on each side I think, and you have to line them up with this, one of these slots right here when you put them on. So if you have to turn that caliper to line it up, then do that and make them fit flat. Back on with our rotor. Because it has this goofy bolt back here, I have to get this caliper on first before we tighten up the bearing nut. How many of you are familiar with what I'm doing here? I will get a close-up inside here view and explain what I did. I'm sure many of you have done it before too, and I'm sure some of you would benefit from this tip. You don't want to get grease directly on your rotor. That's the same with that WD-40. You have got to make sure it doesn't get on the rotors or pads. If it does, clean it up quick. How tight should this nut be? It's debatable, but I'll show you how I do it. I usually take channel lock pliers, then I'll tighten it up, kind of snug, pretty snug. Then I'll loosen it and I'll go back just like that. If you get them over tight, you're gonna burn the bearings up. If they're too loose, it'll be sloppy and floppy back there. New cotter pin, the old one was looking pretty rough. I don't need it that long. People will install cotter pins all different kind of ways too. That's the way I like to do it. Look here, do not dent your dust caps. Here's the socket. Beat it hard as you want. When you get the right size socket on the outside, do not dent up the dust cap. Don't dent the dust cap. Do not dent the dust cap. There's no reason for that. Don't have a socket? Simply take a dull chisel, go around the edge, tap, 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 nice and light. Do not dent the dust cap. I pulled off 2 sneaky tricks with this bottom bolt on this caliper, so I wanted to share it with you. The first thing was, you can't get a wrench on here. See, a box stand won't fit. You can't get a socket on there, and you can only use this, and you're in danger of rounding that thing off because it was pretty tight. But this one's accessible, so I removed that one. Then I took a pry bar here against the rotor and this caliper, and I pulled this caliper back, and when I did that, it turned this bolt loose. As the bracket on the top comes back, it's unscrewing the bolt on the bottom. Then it was loose enough I could get my open end wrench on there and unscrew it. Next issue, when I unscrewed this bolt, it wouldn't come all the way out because it's hitting there, so I can't get this bracket off because the bolt's not coming all the way out. No problem, I just got the bolt out in the back as far as I could, then I started loosening this nut right here, and as this rotor came out and the bearing came out, it gave me more room to unscrew the bolt until finally it came out. Then when I put everything together, I just did everything in the reverse order. I was able to save time instead of having to disassemble something else to get that one bolt out. Right side all done, same as the left. I'm glad we did it because the pins were sticking, especially on the other side, pretty good. And those twist type calipers, they really needed to be spun so they wouldn't freeze up. Datsun guys, I am working on it. This frame is all cleaned up and I sprayed it inside and out with a rust neutralizer. This has all been filmed. You will see it. Be patient, my friends. The Datsun's a marathon, not a sprint. Well, I lucked out. I got my master cylinder that I ordered came in. Look how dusty the box is. Can you see that? This is like some old stock. What brand is this thing? Look how dirty it is. New premium. UBP. Never heard of it. Quality to ensure maximum braking performance. That is what we want. I am thrilled that this came in. My videos are done like almost real time, you know. It's this week that I've been working on this. It's Friday. You're gonna see this video Sunday. Now, is it the right one? That's the question. If I could have just got the reservoir, I would have, but I think this was as cheap buying this whole thing as just the reservoir, because I think I could actually get it now I'm thinking about it. It looks pretty good actually. Let's throw it on there. Time to bench bleed this master cylinder. They call it bench bleeding, but I never have done it on a bench, but I find something to vice grip it up to. These 2 lines are just screwed to the fittings on the master cylinder and then put into their own brake fluid there. Okay, now you can see it. See how the lines are and they're going in the brake fluid. You can also just stop these up if you want to. And then you just pump this here. I got a screwdriver in it. Pump it. until all the bubbles are gone out of here, all the air's out. When there's no more air, you're ready to throw it on the car. Another thing you can do that I've done before is block these two fittings off, bolt it up onto the car, and then just pump the pedal till all the air bubbles are gone. You can do it that way. Make sure your rod is in there where it belongs. Uh-oh. The seal is tight. Oh, no. Let's see what's going on. It don't fit for some reason. The old one did not have this seal on. I wonder if that has something to do with it. I don't think so, though. I hope this fits. Rah! Nope. Isn't that a bunch of crap? My expectations were far too high. 90% of the time the parts aren't going to be right, whether you get them from the local parts store or online. So this one, the bore is too big right here, much bigger than this bore. And what I'm going to do is take this reservoir off and put it onto the old one. I've already cleaned this old one up inside and out, so should still work fine. I think it was working before. The amount I paid for this master cylinder is the same amount you would have paid for just the reservoir, so hopefully it fits. Maybe it's too big, I don't know just yet. Well, it's tight. I think I'll be able to clamp down on that, so that should work. Alright, that'll work for us. Second attempt, and I'm pretty sure this one will fit right on there. Also, I put the little plugs back in the hose ports that the new master cylinder came with so it wouldn't drip while I'm bolting it on. Nice with those plugs in there because I can just take my time now, ease around, and get this thing bolted up. I've got new seal kits coming for my lift. Some of you know that both cylinders on this lift are leaking, and would you like to see a video on that? I assume you would not, but if you do, let me know. No matter how frustrated you get, make sure you always start brake lines with your fingers and make sure they're started good, the threads, because they're fine threads, and so many times you'll think everything's okay and they're cross-threaded, so you gotta be careful. Gonna top it off with fluid and then flush the fluid through all the lines. The way I'm gonna approach this is just to crack all 4 bleeders and simply let them do their thing. Just let them run out. I'll put a little cup here to catch the drips. We'll go to the next one. I did soak these bleeders down with PB Blaster. But I'm gonna tell you something about bleeder screws. They seat into the bottom of the caliper like they wedge, and that's how they're shut off. So a lot of times that's where they're froze up, not where the threads are. So far so good. We got 2 more. These 2 broke loose. Left rear, and I know it's dark, you can't see, but you know what I'm doing. Right rear, and the light happened to be sitting right there, so I turned it on for you. Loosening up the last bleeder. The front are bleeding out a lot quicker than the back, so I'll let them run till I see clear fluid. Then I'll tighten them up and let the backs run for a while. It's gravity bled. Now I'm going to get a little more serious. We'll loosen this up. Up, down, up, down. So it's going to take quite a bit to run this dirty fluid out and put new fluid in there. I've got to do this to all 4 wheels. Then we'll have a completely flushed out brake system. I was flushing away and noticed we had a leak right there, so I went up top to investigate. It's leaking out of this junction right here. It's not leaking out of a line. I'm not sure if this is a proportioning valve or what, but it's leaking right here. There's like a hole there. See, this is what I'm talking about. Will it run? Yes, it ran for 5 minutes. But where are you going to get this part for the brakes? You can't. So now we're going to have to try and get it off of there and take it apart and repair it. This vehicle is a 1986. Could you imagine? If it was much older than this, you would have to replace every single one of those brake lines and fittings. I guarantee it. More clear view on what's happening. It's leaking right there, right out of this hole. Too easy. The first one worked. The second one didn't. Look, this is a perfect time for me to demonstrate the trick I was telling you about earlier. This one's coming out. This one's not wanting to come out. But look, this bracket, remember what I told you earlier? If we can turn that bracket, it will probably turn that screw a little bit to take it loose for us. So, I'm gonna get a hammer and just tap it. See that? I'm so glad I'm able to demonstrate my little trick for you. See, that's broke that bolt loose. Now, it'll come right out. See that? It's spring loaded. We don't need parts to fly, but it's got quite a bit of spring pressure on it. Well, there's our first victory. Came apart without anything, no breaking bolts. Let's take a peek in here and see what our issue is. One thing's for sure, she's all crudded up pretty bad. I blew a little air in the fitting here, and this is coming out now. This has an O-ring right here, or some kind of a seal. I'll take it off and see what that looks like. This is the other side. I'm gonna pull that out of there. These O-rings and seals need to be replaced. Maybe we lucked out. It looks like this is rebuildable. I was able to get this piece apart. These two seals, one fits here, one fits here, the opposite way like that. This inside piece I got out, and that's a cupped seal there also. And it'll slide in to there, this direction. And then this washer goes on, and this clip holds it in, which I did bend the clip a little bit. So if I can get all these seals, we can put it back together. No place around here is gonna have these parts, so I'm gonna have to get on the internet and see if I can order some. The head's back from the machine shop, but we do have some issues. There's a spot here and here and here. This is the worst of it. It's chunked out right there and here, but we're thinking there's enough surface material around these spots that the gasket will seal up and it should work. And the gasket kit showed up, so I'm very anxious to get that head back on. The only way I know to keep you guys coming back to watch videos on my 1986 Honda Prelude is to show you this. Thanks for watching, guys. I am the one and only infamous Kentucky Yankee, without a doubt.